Picture this. You walk over to a familiar drawer in your home and gently pull it open. What do you expect to find inside? Maybe some old batteries, a few pens, or a forgotten key. But look a little closer. Nestled among the clutter, there's almost always a handful of rubber bands. Those stretchy, colorful loops that seem to multiply when you're not looking. We use them for everything. Holding pencils together, sealing up half-eaten snack bags, organizing the chaos on our desks, or even keeping a remote control from slipping out of our hands. They're the unsung heroes of household organization. But have you ever paused, even for a moment, to wonder where these little bands actually come from? How did they end up in your drawer, ready to help at a moment's notice? The truth is, most people have never witnessed the birth of a rubber band. The process is hidden away in distant factories, far from the everyday lives of most of us. It's easy to overlook them. They're cheap, small, and seem to be everywhere, tucked in drawers, scattered on tables, or tangled in the bottom of a bag. We rarely stop to think about their origins. We stretch them to their limits, snap them in frustration, and sometimes lose them forever under the couch or behind furniture, only to find them months later, still waiting to be useful. Yet behind these tiny loops lies a story packed with science, adventure, and a touch of mystery. Their journey is far more fascinating than their simple appearance suggests. In fact, few objects in our homes have a backstory as strange, winding, and interesting as the humble rubber band. They're a quiet testament to human ingenuity and the wonders of nature. What looks like a simple loop of rubber actually hides a secret journey, one that begins in distant lush forests where rubber trees are tapped for their precious sap, and ends in high-tech factories where that sap is transformed into the bands we know so well. So, the next time you casually pick up a rubber band, remember, you're holding the result of a global adventure, a hidden world of science and craftsmanship, all wrapped up in a single stretchy loop. Let's pull back the curtain and dive into the fascinating process that brings these everyday objects into our lives, and discover the secret science trick that gives rubber bands their incredible stretch and snap. Get ready to see the ordinary in an extraordinary new light. Rubber bands weren't always around. In fact, if you look back through history, you'll find that the simple rubber band is actually a fairly recent invention. For most of human history, people had to find other ways to bundle things together, using string, twine, or even strips of animal hide. The idea of a stretchy, flexible band that could hold things tightly was something people could only dream about. The story of rubber itself is one of remarkable invention and discovery, filled with trial and error, and a bit of serendipity. Before rubber bands, the world had to wait for the right combination of curiosity and creativity to unlock rubber's true potential. For thousands of years, people in South America, especially the indigenous peoples of the Amazon, were already experts in using the sticky sap from rubber trees. They called this sap caoutchouc, and they used it to make waterproof shoes, bouncy balls for games, and even bottles to carry water. These early rubber products were prized for their unique properties, but they had some serious drawbacks. Natural rubber, as it came from the tree, was unpredictable. In hot weather, it would become sticky, gooey, and would often melt or fall apart, making it nearly useless. In cold weather, it turned hard, brittle, and would crack easily. This meant that, despite its promise, rubber couldn't be relied on for everyday use. At least, not yet. Everything changed in 1839. That's when an American inventor named Charles Goodyear made a surprising and accidental discovery. Goodyear had spent years experimenting with rubber, determined to solve its problems. He tried mixing it with all sorts of chemicals, but nothing seemed to work, until one day, he accidentally dropped a mixture of rubber and sulfur onto a hot stove. To his amazement, the rubber didn't melt or break apart. Instead, it became stretchy, strong, and resilient. This process, which he called vulcanization, transformed rubber into a material that could withstand both heat and cold. Vulcanized rubber was a game changer, opening the door to countless new uses. Suddenly, rubber was everywhere. It was used to make rain boots that kept feet dry, car tires that could handle rough roads, and of course, the very first rubber bands. Vulcanized rubber was tough, flexible, and reliable, perfect for all sorts of inventions. Just a few years later, in 1845, a British inventor named Stephen Perry saw an opportunity. He realized that this new, stronger rubber could be shaped into loops. Simple bands that could stretch and snap back into place. Perry took strips of vulcanized rubber, formed them into loops, and found that they were perfect for holding papers, letters, and small items together. These simple loops quickly became popular in offices and homes, making everyday tasks easier and more organized. In fact, Perry patented the very first rubber band, officially launching a whole new industry. Factories soon began producing rubber bands in all shapes and sizes, and they became a staple in offices, schools, and homes around the world. So every time you snap a rubber band, you're not just using a handy office supply, you're holding a piece of history. Thanks to the creativity of two inventors and a little bit of luck, the humble rubber band became an everyday essential that's still going strong today. When most people think of rubber, they picture busy factories, machines whirring, and conveyor belts carrying finished products like rubber bands, tires, and gloves. It's easy to imagine that rubber is simply a product of modern industry, created entirely by human hands and technology. But the real story of rubber begins far away from the noise and bustle of factories. It starts in places untouched by industry, deep within the heart of lush green jungles where nature reigns supreme. The journey of rubber truly begins in the rainforests of South America and Southeast Asia, where the air is thick with humidity and the ground is alive with countless plants and animals. In these vibrant forests, the rubber tree, known scientifically as Hevea brasiliensis, grows tall and proud. Its broad green leaves form a canopy overhead, providing shade and shelter to the creatures below. Many might assume that rubber comes from the wood or the leaves of these trees, but that's not the case. The real treasure lies hidden just beneath the bark. The source of natural rubber is a milky white sap called latex. This sticky, viscous liquid is the lifeblood of the rubber tree, flowing quietly inside its trunk. To collect this precious latex, skilled farmers use a special tapping knife to make careful, shallow cuts in the bark. This process requires patience and precision, ensuring the tree remains healthy and continues to produce sap for years to come. As the latex seeps out, it drips slowly into small cups attached to the tree. Over the course of several hours, these cups gradually fill up, drop by drop, with the thick white liquid. Up close, the latex looks a lot like milk, but when touched, it feels sticky and dense, clinging to fingers and surfaces alike. Once enough latex has been collected, farmers carefully filter it through cloth to remove any leaves, bark, or other debris that may have fallen in. This step is crucial to ensure the purity and quality of the rubber. The filtered latex is then poured into large barrels, which are sealed and loaded onto trucks. From here, the journey continues as the latex travels from remote plantations to factories all over the world, ready to be transformed into countless everyday products. None of this would be possible without the dedication of the farmers and workers who tend to the rubber trees day after day. Their knowledge and care ensure that the trees remain healthy and productive, year after year. It's truly remarkable to realize that something as simple and familiar as a rubber band begins its life as a drop of sap in a living tree, deep within the mysterious and beautiful forests of our planet. The next time you stretch a rubber band, remember the incredible journey it has taken, from the heart of the jungle to the palm of your hand. Once the barrels of latex reach the factory, the real transformation begins. The latex is poured into large mixers, but there's a catch. Natural latex is too soft and sticky on its own. It needs to be changed before it can become a rubber band. Workers add chemicals and ingredients to the latex. The most important is sulfur. The mix is then kneaded and stirred by powerful machines. These machines look a bit like giant dough mixers. They squeeze, stretch, and pound the rubber to blend it perfectly. As the rubber is mixed, it goes from a runny liquid to a thick, stretchy dough. The kneading process helps make the rubber tough and ready for the next steps. It also gets rid of air bubbles that would make the bands weak. From here, the rubber is ready to be shaped into something new, and soon, it will start to look more like the rubber bands you know. With the rubber dough ready, it's time to shape it. Big rolling machines flatten the rubber into wide, thin sheets. These sheets are then wrapped around long metal tubes, forming thick, hollow cylinders. Imagine making a giant rubber straw. But there's still one more trick needed. The rubber doesn't have its famous stretchiness yet. The tubes are placed in big ovens and heated. This is the magic moment called vulcanization. During this process, the sulfur added earlier forms tiny bridges between the rubber molecules. These bridges make the rubber stretchy, strong, and able to snap back into shape. The heat and sulfur together create a brand new material, much tougher than the sticky sap from the tree. The rubber is now ready to become bands. Without vulcanization, your rubber bands would melt in the sun or crack in the cold. This science secret keeps them working day after day. Now, the rubber looks like thick, hollow tubes, but how does it become those small, stretchy bands we use every day? The answer is simple: slicing. The rubber tubes are stretched onto spinning machines, and sharp blades slice them into thin rings, each one the width of a rubber band. It's kind of like slicing a loaf of bread into pieces, but way faster. Each cut makes a perfect loop. The sliced bands fall into bins, where workers collect them, check for any with tears or holes, and toss out the broken ones. Only the best bands move on to the next stage. Finally, the rubber bands are washed and dried. They're almost ready for their big journey to stores, and to your home. Rubber bands are fun to stretch, but have you ever wondered what's happening inside the rubber? The answer is a cool science secret. When you pull a rubber band, the long chains of molecules inside it line up straight. These chains are like tiny springs. When you let go, the chains snap back to their wiggly, tangled shape, and the band returns to normal. That's why rubber bands can stretch so far without breaking, unless you pull too hard. Vulcanization makes this possible. Remember those sulfur bridges? They keep the chains connected so the band doesn't fall apart when stretched. Without these bridges, the molecules would slip past each other, and the band wouldn't snap back. Now you know every time you stretch a rubber band, you're seeing science in action. Have you noticed white powder on new rubber bands? That's talcum powder. Factories dust the bands with it so they don't stick together in the box. Without this powder, the bands would clump into a sticky ball. Rubber bands also have a weird trick with heat. If you stretch a band and then warm it up, it actually shrinks instead of stretching more. This is called the Guff-Joule effect. Most things get longer when heated, but not rubber bands. They're full of surprises. Rubber bands even come in special colors and shapes. Some are made to be extra strong for holding newspapers, while others are tiny for braces or hair. So next time you find a rubber band, look closely. There's more going on than meets the eye. Rubber bands seem simple, but now you know their secret story. They travel from trees in faraway forests to busy factories, where machines mix, stretch, and bake them. Science transforms sticky sap into stretchy loops that hold our world together, one small snap at a time. Who would guess that something so ordinary has such an extraordinary past? You might never look at a rubber band the same way again. The next time you find one in a drawer, remember the people, trees, and science behind it. Big discoveries can hide in small places. Even something as tiny as a rubber band can show us the magic of science and invention. That's the real secret of the stretchy loop. So go ahead, give your rubber band a stretch. And know that there's a whole world inside each little loop.